Risk management. Every time we go to work, or in the case of business ownership, have workers come to our business site, we are exposed to workplace hazards. A workplace hazard is a factor or condition that has the potential to harm people working in or associated with the workplace. When a worker is exposed to a workplace hazard, they are exposed to risk, which is the likelihood of an accident or injury occurring because of exposure to a workplace hazard. To create safe work sites, organisations must proactively review all facets of the workplace and work environment, including work processes, to find potential workplace hazards. Once located, these hazards must be assessed on their potential to cause harm and then be prioritised accordingly. It is then the responsibility of the organisation to eliminate the workplace hazard or reduce the potential of the workplace hazard to cause harm as far as what is reasonably practicable. To do this, organisations must follow a systematic process of hazard identification, hazard assessment and prioritisation, and hazard control and review. Hazard identification. A review of the work site and work processes for potential workplace hazards should focus on the following key areas: physical, such as noise and working space; chemical, such as gases, fumes and liquids; ergonomic, such as equipment and task design; radiation, such as X-rays and ultraviolet radiation; psychological, such as shift work and workplace harassment; biological, such as viral and fungal infections; environmental, such as temperature and lighting. If we apply hazard identification to mowing the lawn, we may be able to identify the following hazards: physical, getting hit by displaced objects such as rocks; chemical, the use and exposure to petrols and oils; ergonomic, inappropriately adjusted handle height for task performance; radiation, exposure to ultraviolet radiation; psychological, confrontation with neighbours who believe the plant used is too noisy or is used at inappropriate times; biological, exposure to plants and fauna that may be hazardous to people; environmental, working outdoors in excessive heat. Hazard assessment. Once hazards are identified, they are then subjected to a hazard assessment. This is simply a process of determining how bad these hazards can be by assessing them against two key variables: severity. If injury or illness was to occur because of this hazard, then how bad could the potential consequences be? Likelihood. If a worker was exposed to this workplace hazard, then how likely would it be for this worker to sustain injury or illness? It is important to note that these assessments are informed by experience and consultation, but remain largely subjective. The following table can assist in the hazard assessment process by assigning one of the following descriptors for both likelihood and severity. Severity: insignificant, minor, moderate, major, catastrophic. Likelihood: rare, unlikely, possible, likely, almost certain. With regards to severity, the following definitions and measures can be applied to assist in the assessment process. Insignificant, report only; minor, first aid; moderate, medical treatment; major, hospitalization resulting in loss of limb or bodily function; catastrophic, fatality. With regards to likelihood, the following definitions and measures can be applied to assist in the assessment process. Rare, might only occur in exceptional circumstances; unlikely, could occur at some time; possible, might occur at some time; likely, will probably occur at some stage; almost certain, expected to occur in many situations. If we revisit the mowing the lawn example, we could assess the severity of the physical hazard of getting hit by displaced objects such as rocks as minor and the likelihood as likely. This means if we utilize the following matrix, we can give the workplace hazard a rating of high. This approach also allows the officers tasked with managing work health and safety the ability to prioritise risk and assign resources and time to areas of highest need, such as high and extreme risks. The following general actions can be suggested. Low risk, acceptable, but continue to review existing controls. Moderate risk, review existing controls. High risk, unacceptable, develop and implement controls. Extreme risk, cease immediately, urgent attention. The next step in the risk management process after hazards have been identified, assessed and prioritised is to develop and implement controls or solutions that will eliminate or reduce the hazard. The risk reduction hierarchy is a process that can be used for this. The risk reduction hierarchy is a systematic process that allows business owners to undertake a step-by-step process to establish the best control or solution to an identified hazard. The risk reduction hierarchy should start at number 1, elimination, and progress to number 6, personal protective equipment. As you progress from number 1 to number 6, the controls become less effective. Other considerations with the risk reduction hierarchy include that multiple options can be used and the need to always consider residual risk, which is the creation of new risk if a change is made. Let's assume a coach and support staff of a professional sporting team arrive for a training session with their players and they notice a large hole in the playing pitch. This hazard has the risk assessment of high, which requires the need to develop and implement controls. The risk reduction hierarchy can be used for this. Elimination, cancel training. Substitution, use a different oval or indoor fitness facility. Isolation, put a protective barrier around the hazard. Engineering, fill the hole with dirt or sand. Administration, establish a policy that all players must have their ankles secured via strapping tape prior to each training session. Personal protective equipment, get players to wear padding. The coach and support staff may decide to use engineering and administration to effectively control the hazard as follows. Engineering, fill the pothole with dirt or sand. Administration, establish a policy that all players must have ankles strapped for training. The coach and support staff might determine that elimination to be an inappropriate control due to residual risk, which is the risk of players not having full physical development before entering future competitions. This example highlights the coach and support staff proactively identifying hazards and developing and implementing controls to eliminate or minimize hazard exposure as far as reasonably practicable. Consider the following completed risk management process for chefs employed by a commercial kitchen. In the risk analysis section, risks in the workplace are identified and assessed. The risk assessment requires a score to be allocated for both the severity and the likelihood of the risk. This score is between 1 and 5, in which 5 is the highest. These scores are then multiplied to get an exposure score between 1 and 25. The risk management component requires the identification of appropriate controls using the risk reduction hierarchy. Once these controls are identified and implemented, a revised risk assessment process can be undertaken to reassess the risks and determine residual risk values. This process is the same as the risk assessment process, in which a revised score of between 1 and 5 for both likelihood and severity are allocated and then multiplied together. If the residual risk values are deemed to still be unacceptable, then further revision to the risk treatment measures will be required.